Welcome into the Sharp Sports YouTube podcast. My name is Andrew Sharp. We'll be talking everything Denver sports and beyond. Please like and subscribe if you are a sports fan like me. Let's do this.
Well, the Denver Broncos take care of the Atlanta Falcons 38-6 in a game that was not actually even as competitive as the final score would indicate. Denver has now swept the NFC South for the first time in franchise history. Hard to believe the Broncos have been playing good football for a very long time. Never in their history have they ever swept the NFC South. So I'm very happy. As I discussed on previous pods as well as the preview pod, the Denver Broncos had an advantage with their head coach. Knows the NFC South very well as he was head coach of the New Orleans Saints for a very long time. The Broncos have taken advantage of this. It also goes to show that when Sean Payton knows your team a little bit, he can take full advantage of your weaknesses. Broncos have some crazy stats coming out of this game. They had 22 first downs, 400 yards of offense. They averaged 7 yards per play. NFL, anything above 5 is pretty good. 6 is excellent. 7 is ridiculous. 7, you're usually going to blow people out unless it's a complete track meet. But the Broncos have a very good defense, so the likelihood of that is less. They outscored all NFC South opponents. A combined score of 125-37. Atlanta had 6 points and no touchdowns. They also had 0 points in the second half. Back-to-back home games with 400 yards of offense for the first time since the great Peyton Manning. First time since 2018, the Broncos had consecutive games with 0 turnovers. So, amazing. Atlanta Falcons have not one, but 2 quarterbacks that could have been Denver Broncos at certain points. Kirk Cousins, when he was a free agent, coming off his deal with the Washington Redskins, who kept franchise tagging him, not wanting to pay him a long-term contract, and looked kind of silly for not doing that now, although it's working out well for them with Jaden Daniels. Kirk Cousins was thought that Denver could have been a possible destination for him when he signed with Minnesota around the 2017 season. Also ties into the Broncos because Case Keenum, who was Minnesota's previous quarterback, eventually came and played for the Broncos. Atlanta was not competitive in this game to the point where they they took out Kirk Cousins, understanding that they were going to fight for another day. Michael Penix came in, looked like a rookie. Didn't look as good as Bo Nix, although it's not entirely his fault. He doesn't have the reps that Bo Nix has this season. He's going to be Atlanta's plan down the line. There was thought that the Broncos might take a look at Michael Penix, as he was actually selected ahead of Bo Nix at 8th overall by the Atlanta Falcons in the 2024 draft. But I'm quite happy that Bo Nix is a Bronco, and I recorded a short video just the other day right after this amazing win by the Broncos, going through all of the things that Bo Nix has done since becoming the Broncos starter, and we'll go over a few of them now. It can't hurt. Bo Nix finished 28 of 33 for 307 yards. By the way, 2 of those were drops. Ball hit the receivers right in the hand. We talked about that last time on the podcast. So really, he should have been more like 30 for 33. But regardless, it happens. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions for a 145 quarterback rating. In case you wonder, anything above 100 is very, very good. Bo Nix became the first rookie in NFL history to complete 80% clip of his passes. 80% completions, while throwing for at least 4 touchdowns and 300 yards. Bo Nix is now tied for the most touchdowns by a rookie in Denver Broncos franchise history, and we have 6 more games to go. 7 more games. I keep forgetting about that 17th game. So, Bo Nix is doing things that not only are on pace for the Broncos record-wise, but they're NFL record-wise as well. It's amazing. He is well beyond even the reasonable and high expectations I had for him. He's crushing. Absolutely crushing. He's the first Bronco quarterback to throw for 4 touchdowns and 300 yards in a game since 2016, if you read Peyton. So it's been a long road. Broncos have watched and tried a bunch of other stuff with quarterback for years that hasn't worked. This is working. This is why I was so high on drafting and developing. And if you want to hear that a bit more, you can check out the shorter video I posted talking about some of this. But one more, just because it's fun to go through. 15 different players, we're going to talk about this a little bit later. 15 different players have caught a Bo Nix pass in the 2024 season. So the Broncos may not have a true number 1 receiver, which I believe they will probably pursue in free agency or the draft next year, I should say. But they're making everything work with what they have, with a limited offensive roster due to the lack of first-round picks from the Russell Wilson trade, as well as the $30+ million cap hit that Russell is taking up on their salary cap. So things are looking great for the Broncos. They really, this is about as good as a performance as I thought they were capable of at home. Atlanta is a good team. Don't let anything fool you. They're going to win the NFC South. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be a factor in the playoffs. They had a bad game on this Sunday, but anyone preparing the Atlanta Falcons doesn't know what they're talking about. They're a good team. They have done this kind of performance subsequently to other teams in the league this year. Atlanta Falcons are a solid NFL team. And we're going to keep talking about that. But first, I'm going to go into a little bit more about Bo Nix, who was just named the AFC Player of the Week. It's always fun to go back and check out a few things that were said earlier in 2024. ESPN predicts Bo Nix to have below average season. This was back in August 29th, 2024. And I'm seeing a lot of pushback from various fan bases, mostly Chiefs fans, depends on who it is, saying that there's too much hype around Bo Nix. He hasn't done anything yet. The Broncos haven't done anything. They're 6-5, yada, yada, yada. I love it. Keep bringing it. It's actually getting comical at this point, discounting him. So this goes back to this article. Basically, Bo Nix for the entire season was predicted to have 3,100 yards, 17 passing touchdowns, 13 picks, 4 fumbles, 191 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. So he's currently blowing that kind of out of the water. So just on the passing alone, and as I spoke earlier, I was incorrect. Broncos played 11 games. They have 6 remaining. But Bo Nix is already at 2,275 yards. He's predicted to have 3,516. We'll see if he gets there. So their yards prediction was actually fairly accurate. The one thing that they really got wrong, though, was the touchdown to interception rate. He's at 14 touchdowns, 6 picks. Very good touchdown to interception ratio for a rookie. The other part of Bo Nix that I love, that he uses judiciously now, is his legs. Because he is more mobile than anyone, even I thought he was going to be. So his rushing numbers, he only runs when he has to. He runs when the play breaks down, which is great. He has 63 attempts for 295 yards, 4 touchdowns. So if you need him to, you can get it with his legs as well, which is great. You want a dual threat quarterback. You don't necessarily want a guy who only runs around. You want a guy who runs around when necessary. But I'm good with all that. And it's just funny that he's doing all of this with what even people I very much respect in the NFL coverage, Matt Williamson being one of them. He doesn't even like the Broncos roster. That's why the Broncos win projection was so low. The rest of the offensive roster is nothing special. And I would thoroughly agree. The offensive roster is okay. It's not great. Don't make no mistakes about it. This team is still really in a rebuild. Now, the rebuild is going faster than anyone anticipated, myself included. But this team's a rebuild. This team does not have a ton of offensive talent. They're getting there. Cortland Sutton's a very good player, but he's number 2. Devon Vele's coming along nicely. He had 4 catches, 66 yards, and really should have had 1 touchdown that ended up getting batted away at the last second. Little Jordan Humphrey's a nice story. He finally showed up and did something this game, but he's nothing. I'm not convinced he's anything special. The rest of the roster's okay. Marvin Mims finally showed up. I was happy to see Marvin Mims get more involved in the game plan, but this roster is nothing special. Offensively, it's okay. It's good enough. And Bo Nix and Sean Payton deserve massive credit for making this work, making this offense basically be efficient. And the Broncos this time around, they ran the ball okay. They ended up with, as a total as a team, they had 26 carries for 105 yards, which is great. Please rush for 100. I was begging the Broncos to have a more balanced attack. However, Atlanta's pass defense is not great, so I knew the Broncos were probably going to throw the ball more in this game, and Bo's getting more comfortable. So I'm okay with running the ball a bit less, with a little bit less balance in the attack as he continues to develop. I still think that he should be throwing at no more than 35 times a game. Throwing 40, 45 times a game, it's not. I don't want to see that. I want to see a balanced attack. So this time we had 33 passes, 26 runs. Perfect. Almost 50-50. And the Broncos, if some of those numbers are a little skewed because Bo came out of the game towards the end and wasn't in for the final series as the game was thoroughly in the Broncos' control. So things are definitely looking up for Bo Nix. As I said previously, not just the AFC Rookie of the Week, which he's run before, he was the AFC Player of the Week, which means he beat out Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, who beat the Chiefs. He beat out him for AFC Player of the Week. That goes for the whole league. And there are some great AFC quarterbacks. And I'm thinking that maybe, just maybe, the Broncos might have a pretty special one here in Denver. As I stated earlier, with making the offense work between Sean Payton and Bo Nix, we had another game where 10 players had at least 1 catch. That's insane. I mean, I can't believe the way Bo Nix is distributing the ball to all these different players. And some of them, it's small percentages. It's 1 or 2 catches. But when you're doing that, when you're getting everyone involved, it does a couple of things. One is it makes the Broncos much harder to defend because it means you don't really know where the ball is going on any given play. Secondly, it builds camaraderie within the young team. This is still a young roster. I found some different roster pages. I'm going to go ahead and use the one that I was probably looking at the most, which was on bookies.com. They had the Broncos roster ranked, I believe, yes, it was the 3rd youngest at 26 years and 1 day. Some other sites have the Broncos slightly older. They're definitely within the top 5 to 10 youngest rosters in the league. That can fluctuate a little bit based on signings, so we'll leave it at that. They have a very young roster. And when you get everyone involved, it builds team camaraderie. It builds a really good foundation because everyone feels like if they get open, Bo will get them the ball. And that's a huge thing. I don't think people realize, these guys are all young guys. They're trying to make it in the league. They want to be involved. They want to feel like they're helping the team win. And I love it because it means that Bo's getting everyone involved. He's not locking on the one guy. He's not playing favorites. He's not playing politics, which veteran players tend to do. There's a quarterback in New York who's having pretty much a horrendous season, who's known for not wanting to work with any young receivers. Look where it gets him. Gets him nowhere. So these are the dog days of the NFL. Everyone has some roster injuries at this point, but the Broncos, because of their youth, they're actually in pretty good shape, roster-wise. They have some guys who are hurt, guys who are inactive, but some of the players who they're missing or not really participating in, I kind of forget they're really not part of the team, unfortunately. And I feel a little bad for them because they're not able to contribute to the success of this team and get on the train and have a good time. But Broncos are going to keep moving and grooving. They're not going to wait for anybody. That includes you, Greg Dulcich. It'd be great if you were on this team and contributing, but apparently Sean doesn't think that you're really worthy of playtime, and I trust Sean Payton at this point. So I had high hopes for Greg Dulcich, but he doesn't even see the field. Alex Singleton, I thought would be a pretty upsetting injury for the Broncos on their defense. They haven't missed a beat. I think the Broncos, last I checked, were the third ranked overall defense. Hasn't mattered. And it's not anything against Alex Singleton. He's a fine player, but the Broncos are fine without him. It doesn't really, it's not as big a loss as I would have thought. So Broncos have been pretty healthy, which I'm quite happy with. Oh, another one, Josh Reynolds, who is a fine player from the Detroit Lions, but they don't really need him. Drew Sanders, good linebacker, doesn't really matter. So it's a great thing. It's a great thing. Injuries happen. They're part of the NFL. I really thought that some of the guys who I just mentioned, them being injured, would contribute more to the success of the team, but Broncos are proving that no one player makes or breaks the team other than the quarterback. And the Broncos, for the first time in a very, very, very long time, have a guy at that position. He's a guy. He's a dude. This season was also a lot about finding out if Bo Nix was the guy and developing him, and I'm convinced, because I still think he could actually play a little bit better. There are a few fewer drops, few less busted plays. This offense, especially with the scheming and knowledge and expertise of a veteran coach like Sean Payton, sky's the limit. There'll be some who say, oh, they're going to make the playoffs and get killed in Buffalo. Okay. If you're telling me they're going to make the playoffs, I'm good. I'm real good. Playoffs are another level, but you know what? Let's get to the end. We don't know how this season is going to end. Nobody knows how this NFL season is going to end. The Baltimore Ravens have been the kings of the regular season and have yet to make one Super Bowl appearance in the Lamar Jackson era. So we don't know how this is going to end. And I'm excited to keep podcasting with you. Thank you for checking out my channel. I heard from a former coworker of mine, working restaurant, that he's been checking out the podcast every week. And I told him, I said, I really appreciate it. And I'm getting a few more views here on YouTube. And I really appreciate that too. It's been a fun ride so far this season. Broncos are about where I thought they'd be, but really they're actually really are ahead of even my expectations. And I had this team going around 10-7 and making a wild card. And it looks like winning double-digit games is well within their reach. So, next up, after a good win like this, can't let up. Doesn't stop. Like I always say, it's the NFL. Doesn't stop. Broncos head to Las Vegas to play the Vegas Raiders, a team that is spiraling at the moment, but it's a divisional opponent. Ask the Chiefs. The Chiefs have struggled against the Raiders many times in the Patrick Mahomes era, so don't take the Raiders lightly. Take care of your business. Get an AFC divisional win. AFC West divisional win, I should say. And see where this season takes you. Anyways, my name is Andrew Sharp. Sharp Sports 82 podcast to be on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.